Good morning, folks. I want to thank you for joining us today. We're going to be doing a very, very special channeling. The Prophet Muhammad has come to us. This will be the fifth channeling that we've done with him. And we appreciate that he has asked us to do this. We enter these recordings with the utmost gratitude and honor that we've been selected. So Connie and I will begin, and we thank you for listening.
Yes. I would also like to thank you, Prophet, for coming and helping us to get your word out. Would you like to begin with a message?
Yes. I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak once again. I feel that my modern messages are very, very important for everyone in my faith. I would hope that the members of my faith will pass on these messages, will appreciate what they are, and understand that they are hearing the true words of the Spirit, of my Spirit. In life, I was the Prophet Muhammad. On the other side, as I am now, I am still the Prophet. My words are an attempt to make the believers in my faith more capable of understanding the modern world and of progressing in that world. The Quran is a beautiful book, the Hadith as well. They lay a foundation for my faith. They were written many, many years ago. Things have changed in the world, and I think it is important that members of the Islamic faith are able to progress, to compete, and to understand what is taking place around them in this day and age. I know there are many out there that feel that these cannot be my true words. I would hope that you understand that they are. You can go back and listen to my previous messages. I tried to help you. I tried to speak the truth. And I tried to tell you what Allah truly prefers for his people. I hope that you will treat these messages with respect. I am bringing them to you to help you understand what is required to move forward in this modern world. So tell your friends about it. Do not fear. Do not misunderstand the reason that I'm here. I'm here to help all of you. I hope that my answers today will help all of you. I know that many of you submitted these questions and are waiting to hear the answers. So I thank you. And now, Connie, if you would begin with your messages or with your questions.
Thank you. When you bring messages, why do you bring them through Barry and not someone who speaks Arabic?
Barry was chosen by God to return and speak messages for all religions. He speaks for Christians, speaks for Buddhists, and he speaks for the Muslim community. I want you to know this. I want you to respect Barry's words. When I walked the earth, He also walked the earth and was a true companion of mine. He served my interests in life, and we have asked him to return to bring us messages so that he may once again serve me and God. There is only one God. He is Allah. He is God. He is the source. He is the Spirit. There is only one heaven or paradise to return to. Reincarnation is a true fact, and we ask Barry to return to do this. Just as he served me in life, he is currently serving me now by bringing you his messages. You will find that he has individuals that are helping him, and they will translate this message into Arabic so that all can understand. I hope that that answers your question.
Thank you. Prophet, in an earlier channeling, you told us that you received your messages from angels and God. Today, would you be considered a psychic medium? And please tell how those messages were physically received.
I would probably be referred to as a medium today. I did truly receive messages from the other side. I had a very difficult time understanding what was happening in the beginning. I would see angels. I would see images of spirits. And I would listen to the messages. Often they would come to me in dreams, and I would have very vivid dreams that I could remember. There were times that I would meditate and that I would see spirits, angels in my meditations. I did not have the ability to speak the words of the spirits as Barry does, but I had the ability to remember their messages. I would try to tell the people around me of those messages, and some would try to write those messages down. But yes, in answer to your question, I believe that you would probably refer to me as being psychic in your modern terms.
Does Lucifer exist? And if he does, what is his origin?
Lucifer is a personification of evil energies. He does not exist in form, but he does exist as an energy. He has many energies and many evils that he tries to bring upon the people. God created evil energies as a challenge to humans. Humans are sent back to resist those evil energies. That is a test for humans. Humans can either resist those energies or they can succumb to them. A life plan does not include evil energies, but a human will be tested by those evil energies throughout his life. That is the way of things. By challenging those energies, he can follow his life plan and therefore, or thereby, advance in the realms of paradise. That is why a human is sent back. A human is sent back to be tested by the evil energies, or if you wish to prefer to them as Lucifer, that is fine. Energies can have names, but just know that there is no form for those energies. Evil energies can be personified in humans, and they are. There are an incredible amount of people that have succumbed to Lucifer or the evil energies that are walking the earth as we speak. They have failed their test. When they return, they will be told why they failed those tests, how they did it, and they will probably be delegated to lower areas of paradise or heaven.
Yeah. Why do those evil energies remain earthbound and not go to the light in heaven?
There is no evil in heaven. So, evil energies are simply not allowed to return to heaven. They were sent to earth for a reason, as I said earlier. Evil energies are to test humans. The soul is not tested in paradise or heaven. It is simply tested wherever the incarnate life has been placed.
Okay. According to the Quran, the prophet Solomon was a wise and righteous Jewish king that could perform many miracles. Did Solomon exist, and did he perform the miracles attributed to him?
Solomon did truly exist. He was an early leader. He was an early individual that spoke of the one God and tried to lead the people. Keep in mind, in those days, there was no difference between the Jewish and Christian people. It was only through evolution of human understanding that there was a separation of tribes and a separation of the way people truly believed. Many of the stories of Solomon are taken from the Christian Gospels. As is the case with all of the ancient Gospels, the stories have been altered through the ages. Solomon did indeed perform miracles. He did indeed help lead the people towards one God. Did he perform all of the miracles attributed to him? No. But he did many good things, and he laid a foundation for the prophets that were to follow him.
Okay. Muslim scholars say that if you do not pray 5 times a day, follow the wash rituals, read the Quran, and follow the rest of the details, the prayer is not acceptable. In a previous session, you stated that a single prayer per day was acceptable. Would you please clarify how you prefer that members of the Muslim faith pray?
I prefer that members of the Muslim faith pray in any way that strengthens their belief in God. If they follow the dictates of the Quran, they will do all of those things of which you speak. If they believe that that is what is necessary to achieve advancement in paradise, then that is the way they should pray. If an individual feels that they do not wish to pray in that manner, their prayers will also be heard. You can simply pray and have a conversation with Allah, or you can pray to me and have a simple conversation with me as well. I will pass on the prayers that I hear. Angels may hear your prayers. The fact that you pray is much more important than how you pray. You must pray to Allah or to God or to me or the angels or whoever you wish to pray to. That is the way we know what is on your mind. That is the way we know what you are asking for. That is the way that we know how clearly your path has been illuminated and how clearly you are following that path. The people that follow in detail the prayers of the Quran are doing what they feel is right. And they are doing what they feel is best to lead them to the realms of paradise. Individuals that pray more sparingly are individuals whose prayers are also heard. I just want you to understand that what is important is what you pray for. How you pray can be strictly following the rules of the Quran, or it can be the manner in which you feel most comfortable. Prayer is essential to gain status in paradise.
Okay, you may have answered some of these questions, but Islamic scholars state that prayer is only valid if it includes the reading of the Quran. Is that what you taught, and is that still required? I believe you've answered part of that.
Yes, I have answered part of that. In my time, we felt that a regiment of prayer was required. Keep in mind how different things were when I walked the earth. Keep in mind that individuals were worshiping many different gods, and I and my fellow followers thought that it would be important that they followed a strict regimen. Today, there's much more understanding about faith, about God, and about the requirements of prayer. As I said earlier, what the scholars are teaching in the Quran is what's in the Quran. It is a wonderful foundation, as I said earlier. But prayer is important, and I want you to understand that all prayers are definitely heard. All prayers are understood, and all prayers will be processed as to how they affect your life plan.
What roles do angels have when an individual prays?
Angels are very real. There are archangels, and there are many angels that simply assist the archangels. You may pray to the archangels. Angels will carry the messages to me or to God, to Allah. They fulfill a very, very important role. Angels can assist. Angels can help an individual follow their life plans. Keep in mind that life plans can be very detailed, and that life plans can need assistance to be followed. There are many more angels than you can ever comprehend. When you return home, you will understand just how many angels have assisted you in your life. Do not ever think that angels do not exist. The archangels came to me and gave me messages. They can come to you in prayer. Sometimes they even form as an individual, and that individual will test you. So do not discount the importance of angels, and do not discount the importance of the role that they play in carrying your prayers, and in assisting you with your life plan.
What is the reason for fasting, and what are your recommendations concerning fasting?
Fasting helps cleanse the body. In the time that I walked the earth, we felt that fasting was important. Many people were suffering from shortages of food, and fasting would help them make the most of the food to which they had access. Today, fasting can also help you cleanse your body. It can serve a healthy purpose. If you overdo fasting, it can damage your body. When you fast, you should be concerned with only reducing the intake of your food. Keep in mind that water is very, very important to your system. And if you do not drink water for extended periods, it will do damage to your body. So, as part of the fasting and cleansing process, drink water. Do not allow your system to dehydrate as part of your fasting. But the decision to fast is up to each individual. It can have very beneficial benefits for your system. Fasting in moderation can be a very, very good thing. Do not push fasting to the point that it damages your physical body.
Members of the Muslim Sufi sect believe that an individual should find oneness with God. What is your opinion of finding a oneness with God? And since God is an energy, is it possible?
Keep in mind that your soul is an energy. It is in a physical body, but it is an energy. When you return to paradise, you will not have a physical body. You will simply be an energy. The concept of finding oneness of God is following all of his commands and messages to a point that your soul has risen in the realms of paradise or heaven and is on the same level as God. There is no way that an individual soul can ever truly find the energy of God. There is no way that you can ever understand the energies of Allah or of God. What you must understand is that you need to attempt to find a oneness with the Spirit of God, a oneness with his teachings, a oneness with his words, and a oneness with helping others, and simply following the common sense commands of getting along with one another, showing charity, and doing what you feel is necessary to rise in the realms of paradise. Once you achieve the upper level of paradise, which can only be done by following all of God's commands, then you will assume a oneness with the energies of God, but you will never assume the true energies of God.
Yes. In previous sessions, you discussed homosexuality and said that you ordered punishment to end the forced acts upon slaves that living in homosexual life can be. I'm sorry. And you also said that It can be part of a life plan selected by the soul that it needed to learn. If a homosexual is executed, does he have to return and relive that life plan?
That will be judged by his guides. The homosexuality was probably a part of his life plan. He needed to understand what it was like to have others look down upon him because of his sexual orientation. Perhaps that is how his life plan chose for him to pass from the earth. If that was the case, then he certainly does not have to return to relive that life plan. If he was executed long before the time of his departure from life, then the guides will make a decision. It is quite possible that he may have to relive that life plan, or if he has executed enough of it to satisfy the guides, then he will not have to do so.
It is written that angels participated in battles in which you fought. Is that true?
Angels are energies of peace. Angels did not participate actively in battles or other types of violence. They would lead us, they would guide us, and they would tell us what to do. But physically, an angel does not take physical form and participate in acts of violence, such as battles.
What is the meaning of the greeting, "Peace be unto you"?
That is a greeting that is meant to help individuals show love and understanding towards others. When you say peace be unto you, you are attempting to lead that individual to understanding that you do not mean him harm, and that you are hoping that he can assume a personal peace and understanding with Allah.
Is it true that in the Quran, numbers and words are mentioned in proportional terms?
No, that in many instances is simply a coincidence, or it is the work of individuals that have put into physical words the Quran or the Hadith. It was never my intent that there should be secret meanings or secret numbers and words as part of the written words that my followers were to read and to follow. I did not mean that there would be words or numbers that had hidden meanings. My intent was that the words that I spoke and were written would be understandable, and that those words would act as a future inspiration for my followers.
Yes. Could you explain what the meaning of the Day of Judgment is?
In the Christian faith, they introduced the book of Revelations that incorporated an end of days of incarnate lives of humans on earth. That meaning was adopted by Day of Judgment. I can tell you that there will not be a day that Allah or God returns and judges all of the humans on earth and destroys humanity. What Day of Judgment really is the day of your passing. When an individual passes and enters paradise or heaven, they will be judged on how they live their lives. That judgment will determine whether they advance, whether they stay where they are, or whether they are moved to a lower level. Each soul, every time it returns from an incarnate life, has a day of judgment.
Thank you. Is Gabriel the master of all angels?
Gabriel is a very, very important and senior archangel. There are other archangels that are also extremely important. Angels, or the archangels, are much the same and work independently, knowing what they have been created to do. I would not say that there is any angel that is master over other angels. Now, there are archangels, and they have many other angels that serve them. So in that respect, any archangel is the master over other subordinate angels.
In previous sessions, you told us that you did not write anything from the Quran in your own handwriting. Did you recite the messages and have others write your words as you spoke them?
As I would receive messages from angels or from God, I would pass them on to my followers. Those followers would write down those messages. There was never an attempt, as I walked the earth, to write the specific words that I had received. Keep in mind that when I spoke to my followers, I would be interpreting the messages that I had received, and that I would not have been capable of speaking them in direct detail as I had received them, because many of them were quite complex. So I would reword them, and my followers would attempt to write some of them down. Sadly, not all of my messages were recorded. There would be times that I would speak that there'd be no one present to record the words. Many of the messages that were written following my passing were written from memory of what people thought that I spoke. Sometimes they were quite accurate, and sometimes they were not.
Yes, as you said, only a small portion of the Quran was written before your passing. Would you give us an estimate as to the actual percentage that was written before your death?
I would guess that maybe as little as 20% was written before my passing.
Okay. Muslims believe that Adam and Eve are the origin of all human beings, and their origin dates to 12,000 years ago. Is that accurate?
When I walked the earth, we were truly incapable of understanding just how long humans had been in existence. We were also incapable of understanding that humans could be created without a man and a woman. We had evidence of writings that dated back to probably 10,000 years ago at my incarnate time. Adam and Eve were originally presented in the Christian Gospels, and we accepted that teaching at the time that I walked the earth. Today, science has proven beyond any doubt that humans existed far earlier than the 12,000 years of which you speak. That is actually an irrefutable fact, and the ancient histories of humans should be accepted.
Okay. Lobsang Rampa wrote a book, The Third Eye, in which he stated that humans were created by intelligent beings from advanced civilizations. Is any of that accurate?
Civilizations from other planets have guided humans throughout their evolution. The creation of intelligent beings by alien civilizations is not correct.
How were humans created?
God created early humans. There were many attempts by God to create human types. There was a time that he felt that intelligent beings could evolve from water creatures. For instance, there are mammals that are water creatures. Dolphins are an example. God tried multiple times to create forms that were capable of evolution. Allah, or God, created a form that was capable of evolving to what you refer to today as humans.
Okay. In the beginning of the surahs of the Quran, there are separate letters and numbers whose meanings are not understood. Is there any significance or meanings to those letters or numbers?
I did not give any significance to hidden meanings or numbers when I spoke. After my passing, those that wrote my words would sometimes make mistakes, would enter notes, or would perhaps put numbers. There is no significance to those numbers in the Quran.
What is the proper interpretation of the legend of Gog and Magog as they appear in the Quran?
That is another example of energies that are sent back and turn evil. There is simply an allegorical understanding of good and bad. It is an understanding of how energies can accept the presence of evil energies when they return.
Okay, this is sort of what we discussed before, but in a previous channeling, you stated that there is a small part of God's energy in every human. Is it possible to understand the universal energy of God on this side?
It is absolutely impossible for the human mind to even begin to comprehend the universal energy of Allah or God. God is capable of doing things or acts that you have no comprehension of. God was responsible for the creation of the universe. and you will never, ever be able to understand that type of incredible energies.
The Quran states that in paradise there are palaces, horses, beautiful women, fruits, meats, and delicious drinks. Is that accurate? And would you describe paradise or heaven for us as you know it?
Well, first of all, it's impossible to describe paradise. It is a place beyond description. It is a place for which humans have no ability to truly understand. In paradise, you do not have a physical body. You're an energy. You can assume a form, but it is an energy form, and it is a form that does not require the physical acts that a human would prefer to perform. For instance, there is no requirement for food in heaven. There is no requirement for sexual activities. It is more of a spiritual association. Now, you can wish for things in heaven, and they will occur. But there is no similarity between the pleasures of an incarnate body and the pleasures that you will have when you ascend into paradise or heaven. And that is assuming that you followed your life plan and that you closely followed the desires of the guides and God throughout your life.
Will you tell us what happens when the soul leaves the body in death and ascends into paradise or heaven?
The soul is an energy that will depart from the human body. At that point, the human body has done its job, so to speak, and the human body has no more relationship to the soul energy that was within it. That is why human bodies will rot and descend into dust, because that body no longer is required by the soul energy. When the energy leaves the body, it will enter another dimension, which is the dimension of paradise or heaven. The soul will probably see deceased family members to assist them. He will see angels. He will see other souls that are sent back to assist his ascent into paradise.
The Quran states that there are 7 heavens. Would you describe those levels of heaven for us?
There are indeed 7 levels or realms of heaven. Each one is different from the other. In the lower realms, you cannot visit souls that are above you. In the upper realms, you can visit souls that are below you. As you rise in the realms, what your soul is able to accomplish and do increases. For instance, in the upper realms, your soul can travel wherever it wishes to go by simply you wishing to be there. The lower realms cannot do that. In the upper realms, there is more grandeur. There are more things that the soul energy can accomplish as you rise. But most importantly, as you strive to enter that top level, you will associate with the holiest of spirits and be closer to the energy of God.
What happens to a truly evil person that enters heaven?
There is a lower level of heaven to which truly evil people are sent. It is a place of nothingness. It is not a place of fire. It is not a place of burning. It is not a place of torture. The soul energy is sent down there to contemplate what it has done wrong in its life. Once the soul understands that it has led a very evil life, then it is allowed to return to the lowest level of heaven, and that soul will then have to live other incarnate lives with life plans that will allow it to attempt to rise in the other upper levels.
What is the reality of karma?
Karma is absolute. When you live a soul or a life that did not follow your life plan and consisted of much evil, then it is required that when your soul returns, it must pay back the evil, and it will have to live a life that reflects the need for it paying back to other souls. Perhaps the soul must return to live a life of abject poverty. Maybe the soul has lived a life of great wealth previously and has done nothing to help others. A common karma for that is that the life that it will lead next will be one of poverty, so that it understands just what it was like to be a life that needed help and did not receive it.
How does God bring the required actions to make karma a reality?
It does it through angels and spirit guides. Spirit guides help prepare life plans that include realities of the karma that soul needs to repay.
What is your opinion about the fact that in Islam, a man is not obligated to take permission from his wife to marry another woman?
When I walked the earth, there were many women who would lose their husbands. They might lose them in battle. They might lose them through sickness. But once a husband departed human life, the woman needed help. In my time, women were not educated, and it was very difficult for a woman to support her family and her children. Therefore, we allowed male members of the faith to accept multiple wives in order to care for them. We felt that the woman should accept the fact that there were other women that required help, that would not be able to make it and raise their families. So, in my time, we allowed that decision to be made entirely by the man.
Does God ever feel resentment towards humans?
God does not feel resentment. He feels disappointment, and he feels joy when they follow his commands. God, or Allah, truly loves everyone. He knows that everyone has a portion of his energy, and that he truly will not feel resentment or hatreds.
If ancient civilization failed to obey the teachings of God, did he ever bring disaster to them and destroy their civilization?
There were times throughout history that natural disasters coincided with the fact that individuals had not followed his teachings. God does not intervene with free will. If that free will leads individuals away from God, then he does not continue to bless them. Without the blessings of God, civilizations have ceased to exist.
What is the meaning of the term revelation in your chest?
That term can have multiple meanings. I prefer to think of it as referring to that you have a good feeling in your heart that you are following the words and teachings of God. When you have what many might refer to as a gut feeling, that quite often is the presence of guidance from your spirit guides or angels, or possibly from God himself. A revelation in your chest should be perhaps a message from the other side that your heart has accepted and that you truly believe in.
Zayed was your adopted son, and Zainab was his wife. Zayed divorced his wife and gave her to you in marriage. Did Allah tell you to marry Zainab?
I felt that I could provide a better future for Zayed. I felt that she could help me in spreading my words and spreading the messages that I was receiving from God. Allah did give me a message that she could be a faithful follower and could help to spread my teachings. My adopted son understood this and did divorce his wife so that I could accept her in marriage.
In this modern world, how would you have Muslims approach the teachings of the Quran and Hadith?
I would have them approach the teachings of the Quran and Hadith as gospels that lay a strong foundation and understanding of my teachings and of the Muslim faith. I would also have them understand that the teachings and words presented are of a time and nature that have passed and are history. Many things have changed since the time of my teachings and of the writings. I would hope that they understand that teachings must be adopted to the times. Ancient teachings, in most instances, where they deal with specific specifics of how life was lived in those days should be modified to accept modern circumstances. I am coming to you with these messages in an attempt to bring you the contemporary words that can help lead you and other members of the faith into the future. The teachings of the Quran are extremely important. They are the teachings of the history of the beginnings of the Islamic faith. The faith, like all things, has got to adapt to modern conditions. Things are changing very rapidly in the world. The Quran and Hadith laid an incredible foundation for the Islamic faith. But they need to understand that times are much different. And in many instances, what worked in the 7th century will not work in the 22nd century.
The Muslim Brotherhood does not believe in the plurality of religions and that the only true religion is Islam. They also encourage jihad against non-Muslims. Do you believe that Islam is the solution?
I believe Islam is a solution. I do not believe that it is the solution. Islam must coexist with all of the other religions of the world. It is not possible that only a single belief will be accepted by all of the billions of people that currently follow other religions. What is possible is that all religions understand the concept of a single God and of the single teachings of that single God. God requires that all humans will understand his words and will learn to coexist and to get along. Without coexistence, human evolution will eventually come to an end.
Okay. Would you give us a statement concerning awareness and morals?
Individuals must be aware of the morals of doing what is right. There is a general understanding among all religions of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Good morals require charity towards others, helping others, raising a strong family, having your children understanding that they need to love and get along with others regardless of what their color, their religion, whatever country they come from, whatever their language. All humans are the same. And I can assure you, on coming to the other side, there is no difference in soul energies. All individuals need to be aware of those facts. They need to be aware that they must coexist with all others on the planet for the ultimate evolution of humans. Should they not be aware of the dangers of the technologies that they have been given, such as weapons of mass destruction, then it is a certainty that human evolution will end. So you must be aware of the morals that God has spoken as a foundation for all religions.
Would you give us a statement concerning charity and helping others?
Charity and helping others is very important for you to advance in the realms of heaven. There are many, many people out there that need help. The world today is creating many individuals that require immense amounts of help. Many people are fleeing from violence. There's currently a war that is creating millions of refugees. There's a war that is destroying their cities. These people will need help and charity to rebuild. There are countries where people are trying to flee political oppression. There are many, many homeless people. All of these people require help. God has created situations where other individuals need to show charity and their ability to help. There are many incredibly rich people today that do not help others. As I spoke earlier of karma, they will find out the true mistake of what they're doing. One essential key to rising in the realms of paradise is showing charity and helping others.
Did you ever kill anyone in battle or under any other circumstances?
There was a time that individuals were attempting to assassinate me, and I did have to kill the individual. Violence in protecting oneself is not a sin. Violence in helping protect the innocent is not a sin. That is why members of the military that help to defend others and had to take lives are not judged because they are truly helping others. Individuals that go into battle and simply kill others for the joy of killing will be judged quite harshly.
The Quran states that Noah was a prophet that received a revelation from God that his tribe would be punished because they did not believe in God, and a great flood would cover the entire globe. Is this story accurate?
There have been times of great floods, but it was before the advent of human evolution. The story of Noah took place on a much smaller scale. There were times of great flooding in localized areas, and there were individuals that would save their lives and flocks by building ships and saving themselves from those localized floods. There was no time that an individual named Noah saved the future of humans. The earth and human evolution took place in all quadrants of the world. It would have been impossible for any individual to save all of the humans and all of the animals. It is an allegory that proves that God can truly give messages to individuals that can help preserve their lives and that can help advance evolution.
You stated in an earlier channeling that you wished the Quran had been written in a way that everyone could understand the messages. Do you see any way that your current simple teachings can be incorporated into the messages of the Quran and be accepted by the members of the Islam faith?
There are members of the Islam faith that will never, ever accept my modern messages. I would hope that those individuals learn from the early writings to lead lives of love, charity, and understanding. There are individuals that love Islam and believe that teachings must be altered with the changing of times. Not alter the foundation of the Quran or of my teachings, but show how they can be adopted. Show how they can bring charity and love to all civilizations. So there are people that will accept these teachings, but there are people that will not.
In Islam, the women are not given the same rights or often the same education as men. Would you give us a statement concerning the role of women in Islam now and in the future?
When I walked the earth, women were not educated. It was a very violent time, and the men had to fight the battles. Today, women deserve, in most ways, to be on an equal footing with men. Men should still be in a position to protect the women. In times of war, there are instances where women will need to fight to protect their families, but I would prefer that men would be placed in positions where violence is going to take place in war. Women must raise the families. Men must support the families. It should be a joint venture. Today, women should be educated equally with men. There are many women that have great capabilities and can do much to advance Islam, to advance society, to do much to bring charity and love to others. In my time, women were basically not educated and were capable of assuming equal roles. Today, if women are given proper education and support, they are capable of performing at an equal level, or perhaps even exceeding that in certain instances, for what men are capable. I would hope that in the modern world, women are treated as equals with men.
You told us that you have no problem with polygamy. What do you think of polygamy for women?
I do not see a problem with polygamy in societies where women either outnumber the men or are placed in positions where they need support and help for their existence. By the same token, if women are to be given equality with men, they should have the right, if they so choose, to have multiple husbands. I know that sounds strange, but there are cultures where there are more men and women, and that women having multiple sources of support would meet our approval.
I take it then that you feel that women should have equality with men in Islam.
In this future time, women can do much of the same things that men can do. I do feel that women should have equality of education, equality of the opportunities in business, and the opportunities of political leadership. But as I stated earlier, I do feel that in times of war, there are places that men should play the primary role.
What would you tell the followers of Islam that take offense at the channelings of your simple and modern messages?
I would tell them that Barry and you have been sent back to repeat my words, and that my words are designed to allow members of the Islamic faith to prosper into the future. It is very difficult in the long run for individuals to follow the practices that worked in the 7th century. Today, education is incredibly important for both men and women. I felt that it is a time that it is very, very necessary that I return for messages. I did not choose to return in body, but although I may choose to do that at a future time. When I return, and if I return, I will not have the body or the shape or the image of Muhammad. Just the same, if Jesus decides to return, he will not return as Jesus. He will have a different form. I want everyone that follows Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever, to coexist and get along so that you can lead the future of human evolution.
Is there any way that you can prove to people listening to your messages that we are absolutely speaking the words of the Prophet Muhammad?
If individuals take the time to open their hearts and to look at all of my messages, there will be more channelings, there will be more messages, and this is the 5th time that I've chosen to speak to the people. Look at how my words relate to what is required for Islam to progress into the future. When Barry sat down to begin this channeling, he had absolutely no understanding of the words that I would speak. He is truly speaking the words of the soul that was the individual you refer to as the Prophet Muhammad. As in all things, faith is often required. But combine your faith with understanding and look at how my messages relate to the history of Islam. There is no way that Barry would ever have the knowledge to speak many of the words that I am speaking. He does not truly understand the history of the Islamic faith. I do, since I started it. And I want nothing more than for Islam to be able to advance on an equal footing with all religions of the world.
Thank you so much, Prophet, for joining us and for answering all of your followers' questions. I say God bless you. Thank you. Do you have a final message for us?
Yes. I want all of you that hear these words to understand that Islam can be a very, very modern religion, that it can prepare people for the future, that it can lead the way in showing charity and understanding. I want you to know that I will be returning with more messages. I want to reinforce the words that I have been speaking. I want to continue to repeat the words that I feel are required to lead you into the future. I want to thank you for listening. And I want to end this message by saying, peace be unto all of you. Goodbye. Thank you very much. It was an exhausting, but a very, very interesting message. I don't remember a whole lot of it because I simply don't remember the words when I'm speaking them, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the transcript and I'm going to make it available for everybody. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We will be back again in the future. All of the messages are available on my YouTube channel. It's in my name, Barry Strohm. And may peace be unto all of you.